Good evening and welcome back to the One Day at a Time blog. To all of my returning bloggers, then welcome back. And I'm so proud of you for being committed to taking this step in your life to returning to a blog that is focusing on you and your mental freedom and clarity. If it is your first time joining us, then I welcome you as well. This blog, again, it is designed strictly for the purpose of helping people achieve mental clarity and mental freedom and being able to live a more productive and peaceful life. So I have returned to you this evening to do a follow-up. We are talking about the mind. We were talking about the 6 dimensions of the mind, and I was breaking it down. And I started with the first dimension, which is love. Yesterday I did just do a very broad overview of love, and I said that I would return back today to do a more detailed description of love and how it affects how our mind affects our love, how love affects our mind, and also how that affects our way of living. Also, by talking about this topic, it is going to lead me into another topic that is very near and dear to my heart that we will discuss in a matter of minutes. So just to do a quick overview, again, I will be looking at my notes, which is off screen, so excuse my indirect contact. But I wanted to talk, just do a quick overview of what I told you love was yesterday. Basically, we have the capacity to love in our mind. And the problem with that capacity is anytime you have a capacity to do something, it also has the capacity to be ineffective and to also be not balanced. And so a lot of us are living with an unbalanced love life. Some symptoms of having an unbalanced love life. And when I say love life, I'm not referencing your love life with your significant other or with your mother or with your daughter or your children. I'm talking about mostly yourself. We have to learn to love ourselves before we can move forward to even begin to love each other. So I want to talk about symptoms of an unbalanced love life with ourselves. Symptoms of that is feeling empty inside. A lot of times we can feel over or understimulated. We're unable to express our feelings. We often feel lonely. We feel like we're not understood by others. We're very, very fearful of intimate relationships and adult responsibilities. These feelings, which again are a symptom of having a very imbalanced love life in our mind, those symptoms actually lead to behaviors. So some of the behaviors that we will notice when we do have an unbalanced love life, we start forming unhealthy relationships. Since we don't have a healthy relationship with ourselves, a healthy loving relationship with ourselves, we develop an unhealthy loving relationship with other things. And some of those things are when you see people addicted to drugs, or alcohol use, binge eating, inadequate rest, providing inadequate rest for the body, like basically, staying out late, not getting the rest that we need, going to work, inattention to physical appearance, people that don't care to take care of themselves, as simple as brushing their hair or brushing their teeth, or just general body hygiene. Negative attitudes towards self and others, and just in general, a very, very negative outlook on life. I know we've all met people that we think every time we meet them, they always have a negative comment. They're never happy, and they just don't feel good about life in general. All of those are symptoms. First, those are symptoms of an unbalanced love life with yourself in your mind, and then those symptoms those symptoms lead to behaviors. Basically, this unbalance of the love dimension of the mind that we're talking about, it makes you a prisoner to yourself. You become a prisoner to your emotions, and you become a prisoner to your behaviors. So this is what I was going to tell you leads me to a topic that has always been very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I experienced as a young child, all the way into my teenage years and into my early adult years. Basically, an unhealthy love life with ourselves presents with symptoms of depression, which is a disease of the mind. Basically, to me, this is a perfect time to talk about this epidemic because depression is actually plaguing a large percentage of Americans today. And then the saddest fact about it is the most people that have depression, they're not accepting of it, and even worse, a lot of them do not realize that they are even depressed. So basically, it's impossible. It's impossible to reach people that don't realize they have a problem. For instance, if you're scrolling down and you see my blog, if you're not feeling like that you have any type of mental imprisonment, or if you don't feel like that you live in bondage, there's no reason you would even tune into my blog. But unfortunately, a good majority of the people that are ignoring the blog are the people that are depressed and that do need the blog. So I wanted to blog a little bit today, basically continuing about love and the mind, and leading into depression. I wanted to talk about depression and how debilitating of a disease that it is. First and foremost, I would like to say that depression and mind disease is real. Depression and mind disease, it is real. It is very disheartening when I hear people say that depression and mind disease does not exist. I've heard people say, well, you're just sad, just get over it, or you're just mad, just get over it, you're feeling suicidal. That's crazy. All you have to do is just smile and get over it. This to me, it really makes me very angry, because when you look at disease in general, disease is not something that you can just get over. As a nurse, when I look at a person with heart disease, or I look at someone with kidney disease or lung disease or breast cancer, I don't go in their room and I don't say, today I'm not going to provide you treatment. You just need to get over it. So how dare we will tell anybody that is suffering from major depression or suicidal tendencies to just stop and to get over it. And just to be honest with you, mental disease is one of the harshest, it's the harshest diseases out there. As we've discussed, the mind and the brain control every physiological process. So if we have a disease of the mind, such as depression, can you imagine how that would affect our brain and how the brain would actually affect our body? And as I have studied in nursing school, I've learned that prolonged exposure to stress, it is debilitating to our body. It actually can cause heart disease. It actually can cause certain cancers in our body. And basically, that is due to a prolonged exposure to a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is produced out of a body's response to stress. Cortisol in small levels is good, just like sugar in small levels is good. But whenever the body is exposed to an overabundance of it, and then it can be very debilitating, and the body will start responding negatively to that. So again, if you have a disease of the mind, just imagine how that disease can manifest itself into the body, into some of the other diseases that we actually see, and that we actually say, okay, now we need to treat it. So why would we not first tackle mental disease and diseases of the mind? So that way we probably could alleviate a good amount of the diseases that the body experiences. I'm not saying that all of these diseases are a manifestation of the disease of the mind, but I am saying that I guarantee you that some people that have had mental disease for a prolonged amount of time, their body has been manifesting other diseases in response to this prolonged exposure to mental disease. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, they don't even realize the latent symptoms of depression and mental disease. Like a lot of the symptoms I mentioned earlier about feeling lonely, not wanting to associate with people, not taking care of your physical health, not taking care of your physical hygiene, just being a negative person. A lot of those are underlying symptoms of depression. Now, I'm not saying if you have some of those that you are depressed, but some of those are latent symptoms that actually are the beginning phases. So if you have some of those, I'm not saying, hey, I'm diagnosing you with depression, but I am saying that you need to monitor those symptoms, just like any symptoms of any disease, and monitor their progression, because I am saying that things like that can progress into a severe form of depression or mental disease. Remember that knowledge is power. And if you have this knowledge, it's good to know, so that not only you can monitor yourself, but you can monitor your friends, you can monitor your family, you can monitor your children. Mental diseases is just like other diseases. You can try to ignore the symptoms. You can try to pretend it's not real, but it does not. I promise you, it does not, and it will not go away. And honestly, the more you ignore it, just like any disease, it will get worse. So my charge to you right now, again, is to research and to know the signs and symptoms of mental disease and depression. Know it for yourself first and foremost. Remember, we are talking about love, and first loving ourselves before we can be of any resource or help to someone else. And then also, you need to know it for your family members. You need to be able to identify it in your friends. It is especially imperative if you are a parent of a child, especially with all the bullying going on and all of the self-esteem issues that adolescents and even elementary age children that are killing themselves are dealing with. It is imperative for a parent to be able to recognize those symptoms of major depression and mental disease. And also, if you are an adult that is providing care for an elderly mother or elderly father, their increase in suicide has really changed over the decades. So it is really prevalent, mental disease and depression in our younger children, and also our senior citizens. So it is extremely imperative, first of all, to free your mind and to be healthy. And then second of all, it is imperative to know these symptoms and recognize them in people that we love. Once you know the signs and symptoms, whether you recognize it in yourself or whether you recognize it in others, get help. I support my blog wholeheartedly. I think that I provide you with great information, but sometimes diseases, they require advanced medication and support. Sometimes, like they'll say, you have diabetes, it can be treated with just simple exercise and change of diet. But sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes you have to go a bit further and you have to take medication like insulin or metformin or something that can at least get the disease under control. And then maybe you can back off of those medications. The same is with mental disease. Basically, our brain does have chemical imbalances, and those chemical imbalances can be anything such as low serotonin levels or an increase or a decrease in dopamine production, which those things they physically alter our well-being, our state of being, and our mindset. And that is not something that you can change on your own. You actually have to go out, you have to see a psychiatrist, and you have to get medications to help with these imbalances. Medication alone is not the answer, but sometimes it's what we need to sustain us until we're stable enough to move forward without medication. I call it the same thing as ICU. If your brain is if your mind is very sick and it is in need of critical attention, then you need to put yourself in a situation where you are able to access all the resources and to provide all the medication you need till you can become stable. And then you can look into weaning yourself off medications and moving forward. My charge to you tonight is to understand this love dimension of the mind, because it can honestly save a life or it can end a life. There is help if you are a prisoner to your mind. If you need resources, I am here for you. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, and I promise you that we will tackle this love dimension of the mind. So again, thank you for sharing with me. I pray that some information I share with you today was important. I want you to take away these key points: that mental disease and depression, it is real. Do not let anyone tell you that you are crazy and that you can just get over it without any help. again, it has to be tackled. It has to be tackled head on. If you need resources, if you want to do it in privacy, then I am here to provide you that support. So thank you for sharing with me. Tomorrow we will be tuning back in and talking about another dimension of the mind, which is fear. And that goes hand in hand with the dimension of the mind of love. So again, thank you for sharing, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And when you wake up tomorrow, have the mindset that you are going to live free, one day at a time.